At home with a lifetime of stories and songs, people we've met and the places we've gone. Along the way found where and how we belong. At home with a lifetime of stories and songs. Welcome to more Songs and Stories from Home, podcasts that give voice to songs with stories and stories with songs written and being written over the course of a lifetime, often illuminating the journey we all make, together and alone, finding our way home. One Love and Two Lives, Part 1. My mom turned 75 the day after my dad died. What felt like a cruel coincidence at the time became a reason in the years that followed for Pat and me to do our best to be in Spokane on May 28th, to remember and commemorate on what was my dad's dying day his whole life, before waking up the next morning and celebrating my mom's life and the wonder of birthdays. When my mom died in August of 2020, there was simply a small family graveside service due to COVID. Pat and I returned to Spokane a year later to celebrate her whole life, visiting places she loved. It felt like a natural ending to those ways of remembering. Until we realized in 2022 that on May 28th, it would be 25 years since my dad died, and on May 29th, 100 years since my mom was born. Reasons enough to drive across the state one more time, to celebrate each of their lives on what feel like significant dates, while this time remembering who they were together, as well as recognizing the roles they now play in our lives. Before we went, we took time to consider places we'd visit, songs we'd sing, stories we'd tell over those 2 days of reflecting, of imagining, of seeing my parents in new roles as guardians and guides, as part of a bigger story, as part of a timeless song, now forever part of that greater circle of life and love. Honoring my folks with stories, singing songs, saying their names, thinking about all they took with them and about all that remains. In a way they are together, at home where they belong, part of a bigger story, part of a timeless song. Some say they're in a better place, while I don't know that for sure, but I'm sure the world's a better place because of who they were, though they are no longer with us. In ways they are not gone, they're just part of a bigger story, part of a timeless song. Those are the first couple of verses of Part of a Bigger Story, written as part of a celebration honoring my parents on Memorial Day weekend 2022. My wife Pat and I drove from the Olympic Peninsula where we live to Spokane, where I grew up, so we could be in Spokane on May 28th, 25 years since my dad died, and on May 29th, 100 years since my mom was born. A quarter century earlier in 1997, it felt cruel that my dad would die the day before my mom's 75th birthday. And yet, even 1 year later, the timing began to feel, in a way, like a gift. Because while it was unlikely we would drive across the state to be in Spokane simply for my dad's dying day or for my mom's birthday, it somehow made all the sense in the world to make such a trip to remember and celebrate my dad's whole life, and then wake up the next morning and celebrate my mom's life and her birth. So we made a point, when possible, to be in Spokane on those particular days. Though not in 2020 because of COVID. We did go in June that year when my mom entered hospice. Bedridden by then, the last night of our visit, Pat and I gathered in her bedroom along with a caregiver and sang songs for some hours. My mom, fully alert and singing along to almost every song. A quiet goodbye the next morning, and then a phone call each night for some weeks after that. The caregiver answering, putting the phone on speaker each evening until the night she died. We shared songs and ended with an I love you. And again, due to COVID, there was a small family graveside service. And then back to Spokane in 2021 on the anniversary of my mom's death for what felt like a final fond farewell. And then we realized the significance of those May dates in 2022, 25 years. 100 years, and suddenly it felt important to be in Spokane at that time, to spend time at meaningful places, spending time beforehand creating and curating songs to help tell the story of their love and their lives. We decided we'd leave roses, or rose petals at various places where we would be stopping. Roses was my dad's favorite. He bought my mom a dozen roses the day before his heart attack. And those roses soon became dried flowers that she kept in the house for years. Our tradition became to bring her fresh roses whenever we came to visit. On May 28th, 2022, Pat and I started our time in Spokane on the South Hill, overlooking the city before stopping at places my parents lived and worked and played and worshiped and raised their family and eventually became part of their grandkids' lives. And then we stopped at some wonderful parks and gardens that held memories of real experiences as well as representing the cycles of life before making our way to the Spokane River and the spectacular falls that are part of it, reminding us of all the time we spent by that river and at those falls, and at the same time seeing that river as a metaphor in a greater circle of life, a circle of love. And then after stopping at various spots along the river, we made our way to the gravesite, where my parents' earthly remains now remain forever together. And then one more stop at the river, downstream, to, in one sense, say one last goodbye to my parents as we knew them, and in another to say hello, to think of them not only for who they were in life, but how they had now become truly part of a bigger story, part of a timeless song. They never met their great-granddaughter, though I do believe it's true. They're part of her life story. She's part of their story, too. There are ways we are connected that go on and on and on and on. Part of a bigger story. Part of a timeless song. The truest thing there is in life is all of us will die. Though I believe it is also true, part of us stays alive. Part of an endless chorus, all singing along. Part of a bigger story. Part of a timeless song. And we're starting here, overlooking the city of Spokane, through the trees. It's just a short walk from where my mother lived the last dozen years of her life, where she died. In the next few days, we'll be stopping by places that were important to my parents in their life. We'll be celebrating their individual lives and who they were together. There'll be songs and words of remembrance. We'll leave rose petals or even roses at places they worked and worshiped and raised their family. Our first stop was a spot overlooking Spokane. and I sang a song I wrote for my parents and introduced at a Brothers Four concert in Spokane a few weeks before my dad's heart attack. We had no idea, as we celebrated on that Saturday of Easter weekend, that it would be the last time that we would have such a moment together. On the first page are two pictures. Look at them and you'll see. One's a young boy, one's a young girl, waiting there to meet. Turn the page, and they're together. Turn again, a groom and bride. The pictures tell the story of one love and two lives. Page after page, the pictures show a growing family. 1, 2, 3, the kids arrive and make the scenes complete. Sometimes in living color, sometimes in black and white. The pictures tell the story of one love and two lives. Through all the change of fashion, lengths of skirts and lengths of hair, through every change of season, their love is always there. In holidays and birthdays, through vacations, through the years, in portraits and blurred snapshots, their love is always clear. On the last page is one picture of a white-haired man and wife who found each other years ago and married them for life. The years have been exposed to the unblinking camera's eye. The pictures tell the story of one love and two lives. That spring of 1997 would become for me a season of the heart, filled with great joy and some triumphs and a deep sorrow and some tragedies, framed in part by the song One Love and Two Lives, introduced at a homecoming concert. The day after the concert, after Easter brunch at my parents' house, Pat and I got ready to go home. And though the weekend was ending, we knew we would be seeing my folks in a few weeks. They were going to join us on a Brothers Four cruise to Alaska. So instead of see you later, it was see you soon. Sadly, sooner than we thought, starting with a phone call that no one wants to get, followed by a somber drive to Spokane, a hospital vigil that lasted a fortnight. And at some point in each of those days, singing One Love and Two Lives at my dad's bedside, singing that song again at his memorial. A song of celebration transformed into a song of mourning. And now, 25 years later, still a love song. Still a snapshot of my parents' lives. I wrote a song about a man and wife. It's sort of a snapshot of my parents' lives. When I first sang it on that Saturday night, I thought for sure there would be more tomorrows. Never dreamed before the season changed that song written to celebrate would be performed then at my father's wake, and could contain such pain and sorrow. There is something about a song that can make us laugh or cry, that can help us say I love you, or let us say goodbye. Celebrate a new love, bring comfort when love's gone, when hearts alone can't say enough. There is something about a song. That song I first sang at the concert hall. I sang every day at the hospital, then once more at the church, and through it all, it gave voice to so many feelings. Some made me laugh, some made me cry, some I simply can't describe. But when the music stopped, I realized that I had found somehow revealing. There is something about a song that can make us laugh or cry, that can help us say I love you, or let us say goodbye. Celebrate a new love, bring comfort when love's gone, when hearts alone can't say enough. There is something about a song, something about a song. Thank you for watching or listening to more songs and stories from home. Come back next time for part 2 of One Love and Two Lives, knowing you're welcome here at home with a lifetime of stories and songs.